Hey, what's up everybody? I hope you're doing wonderful today and that your portfolio are doing just as great. In this video, I'll just do a quick update on EHANG because if you didn't already know, I did a full company analysis in another video just about 3 weeks ago. Back then the shares were selling for just in the low 20s and has now actually reached a high of over $80 and is now selling in the low 70s. So actually almost a quadruple since I made the last video. And to be honest, I didn't expect it to start rallying so quickly. But in this video I'll cover why this rally might have happened, and if it's a buy now, should you sell or should you just hold your shares if you have any. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and liking the video if you do like content like this. But enough of that, let's just get right into the video. Right, so when I made the last video it was just around here when the shares were selling for just about $22, and I had actually drawn out this support level, which it did end up bouncing off of. And then this absolutely just crazy run up started, giving us just about 274% in gains, which is just absolutely crazy because I wasn't expecting it to do this already. But of course, when a stock does soar this much in such a short period of time, we should know from previous experiences that it's absolutely just not sustainable to keep going like this without at least seeing just a bit of consolidation and a small retracement like we've seen in the past, also in EHANG right here and right here. The run-up has slowed down just a little bit over the past couple of days though, which is pretty good to see actually, because it can't keep on going like this forever. And as it actually has slowed down just a little bit, it has created this new area which could be the new potential support. It's not that clear on the daily chart, but if we take a look at the 1 hour chart, we can see that it did actually just surpass this level, then bounce back down to this area, gain just about 10% and then bounce back, and seems to now actually be bouncing off of this level again. But it is also on the 1 hour chart actually forming a pennant right here, which I've drawn on these purple lines. And as you can see, it is actually right here at the top of it, which previously has been the resistance 2 times already. So I do expect actually it breaking out of this pennant soon, like within the next week, either to the upside or the downside. It could easily go both ways, but I do think if it does go to the downside, it wouldn't go much lower than like the 68 level, or worst case scenario back down to this level right here, like the high 50s, low 60s. And we can also see here on the 1 hour chart it has actually bounced back below overbought levels, still at the top of it though. But since EHANG has gained so much traction over the past couple of weeks and the volume has just skyrocketed, I wouldn't be surprised if it does surpass this overbought level and the RSI does go above 70 again, which indicates that it is overbought. So I do actually think that it has some more upside to go, but just not at the same scale as we've seen over the past couple of weeks, like a day where it actually gained 53%. So I think in the near future it might have days like it had on Friday where it gained like 2.4% and maybe reach like $90, maybe $100, and on the lower end like $70. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does consolidate between those levels, but it could easily have just a bit more upside to, as I said, the $90 to $100 level. But as we can see here on the daily chart, the volume has just skyrocketed over the past around 10 days from just around the 13th of January. And what the volume shows us is the amount of shares being traded. So I think that this huge spike in the volume could indicate that there's some big money going into this stock, which of course is a good sign because we know the big money is actually what moves the markets. So big money going into this stock is a catalyst for the upside. But who is these institutions actually buying this stock then? And is it only institutions, or is it also retail investors that's starting to realize and opening their eyes to this sector and to this stock? Well, let's take a look at some of the recent news. So ARK Invest, the fund in which Cathie Wood is the CEO, just recently announced that they're going to do an ARK space exploration ETF called ARKX, and they actually just announced this on the January 13th, which if we go back to the chart is actually the day that this spike really started to pick up and actually gained just over 100%. And in the SEC filing by ARK for the space exploration ETF, we can see right here that they describe their principal investment strategies, and we can see right here that they define which kind of companies are going to be included in the ETF. Right here they say that suborbital aerospace companies are companies that launch, make, service or operate platforms in the suborbital space, including drones, air taxis and electric aviation vehicles. And of course, if you do know EHANG, exactly right here at the end, this is exactly what EHANG does. They offer air taxis for urban transportation, which is already ongoing in several parts of China, and they have trial permits in several countries in Europe. And of course they have drones for logistics and as firefighters and just so much more. But if you want to know more about that, you can check out the previous video I made. I do have to warn you though, it was my first video, so there's a couple of editing mistakes here and there. The mic is just absolutely terrible, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And nonetheless, there's still a ton of value and insight in EHANG if you do want to know more about them, which I most definitely suggest you do. But if we actually do take a look at some of the internal news from EHANG over the past couple of weeks, there isn't actually that much that I think just standalone could justify this recent spike. But there's a few that still could have been a small catalyst for the run-up. But I still think that one of the main catalysts was the announcement of the ARK space exploration ETF, and one other thing that I'll cover just in a minute. But one of the news that has come out recently on the January 21st is that EHANG joined European Union's AMU-led project to demonstrate urban air mobility. And this project, which EHANG is going to be a part of, is one of the largest European demonstrations of urban air mobility, and it was initiated by the European Union. And EHANG does actually already have partnerships ongoing with several European countries, such as Norway, Austria, Spain, and Germany. But I think that the fact that the European Union has initiated a project like this just showcase that they also see that the implementation of an ecosystem in urban areas consisting of aerial vehicles most definitely just will bring them tons of benefits. And of course that it is actually the European Union and not just like one or two countries could also lead to several new partnerships with new countries in the future, because the European Union might encourage countries to at least try out urban air mobility and eventually maybe implement it within each country's infrastructure. And of course all of this will just be massive for EHANG, because it could mean that the partnerships might just come to EHANG rather than the other way around, that EHANG has to go and try and sell themselves to everyone. And some other news are just that the EHANG is now going to provide UAM services in some new areas in China. And of course they are already offering these services in several areas in China, but this just shows us that the expansion isn't going to slow down, but only going to continue, and most likely at an even larger scale in the coming future. And also the CEO of Flying World Technology, which EHANG just partnered with, commented that we are excited to cooperate with EHANG and other strategic partners. By leveraging EHANG's world-leading AAV technology and strong support from local government, we see promising market development potential and are confident that we can integrate air mobility services into the leisure and tourism industry in the city. And here at last, just as I said about expansion, he said that we believe this effort can gradually expand across several new areas to form synergistic operations and development. And the last thing I want to cover is just media coverage. And one thing is that Daniel Pronk, one of the biggest YouTubers in this finance space and stock analysis space, did a video on them just about a week ago, where he just basically stated that he was extremely bullish on this company and that it is most definitely a stock that he wants in his portfolio. But even bigger than that is that they were covered on Bloomberg, where they did an interview with the CFO of EHANG. And I think that the fact one of these huge media publishers like Bloomberg is covering EHANG obviously brings a ton of retail investors' attention towards them, but also the fact that Bloomberg sees this as an interesting enough company and a company with enough potential so that they actually want to cover them. And I still think that this is just absolutely only the start of EHANG, and I think that long term they will most definitely do very, very, very well. And as in long term, I mean like at least 15-20 years, because I honestly think that it's inevitable that we aren't going to implement ecosystems like EHANG's, where logistics is done through drones, aerial vehicles becomes a much bigger thing, and that drones generally can just be used for so many different things that will make everything much more efficient and cheaper and safer. Alright, that's all I got for you today. If you did like this video and you want more content like this, please consider subscribing and giving this video a like. It really do mean a lot to me. And let me know what you think down below, or if there's anything in specific you want to see in another video. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.